This is it. This is the Fenway Park, the Wrigley Field of the NFL. This is Lambeau Field. From Curly Lambeau to Vince Lombardi to so many other Hall of Famers, this is the mecca of professional football. The aluminum bleachers. It isn't warm here, but it does feel like Hawaii compared to the last time that I was here. For the 49ers and the Green Bay Packers. Those same two teams are going to meet up today here at Lambeau Field. The last time that I was here was a playoff game where it was maybe -2 degrees. It started snowing. This turned into a snow globe. But that wasn't until later in the game. This time I say it's like Hawaii because it's probably in the 40s, maybe the high 30s, but it feels really warm. I have no trouble right now. I don't have any gloves on, and it's all good. Last time I was doing this live, and it was 2 or 3 degrees in the afternoon, and my hands hurt. And I remember saying my hands hurt, but I'm going to keep on doing the live for the good of the audience, the good of the channel. This time it's a piece of cake here at Green Bay. The problem is that it won't be a piece of cake for the 49ers, who are very, very injured. No Brock Purdy, no Nick Bosa on top of pre-existing injury concerns for the 49ers. So they're going to have to find a way to come in here and upset the Green Bay Packers with Brandon Allen as their starting quarterback. So how can Kyle Shanahan set the table for a potential upset? The 49ers are about 5.5-point underdogs today. Well, Kyle Shanahan was able to devise a game plan that Nick Mullins, undrafted free agent in his first career start, took and ran with and dominated the Raiders in that 2018 season. Kyle Shanahan has been able to go back to the drawing board when the 49ers have had their backs up against the wall with multiple different quarterbacks, including Jimmy Garoppolo. This was back in it was in a couple different seasons, 2021, 2022. That was the games against those were the games against the Rams, where the 49ers were struggling both offensively and defensively. And Kyle Shanahan was able to simplify the game plan, go back to basics, go back to what makes the 49ers the 49ers, and they manufactured a victory. There sometimes can be an overcomplication of things whenever a coach gets too comfortable with the quality of his quarterback. Brock Purdy is really damn good. We all know this. Any good coach is going to try to continue innovating and expanding his ideas, developing new concepts over the course of time. With a good QB, and the 49ers have a good QB in Purdy, that process, especially if there are injuries to the roster, can lead to trouble. It could lead to occasionally a coach getting too cute, a convoluted mess when it comes to the play caller quarterback cohesion. When that happens, I do think that it is important for a coach to get back to his roots, get back to what got him there, to re-emphasize the fundamentals, because you can take the fundamentals for granted when your QB is really, really good. So, look at the 49ers this year. Number 32 in the league in YAC, in yards after the catch. So much of that, and that's dead last after they'd been first in the entire NFL in YAC over the past several seasons. So much of that comes from the fact that Christian McCaffrey wasn't available, and I think that it caught the 49ers by surprise, and they essentially rewired how they worked offensively because the easy checkdowns that they trusted so much to Christian McCaffrey weren't there. But that's a fundamental, an alarming and bizarre change to the 49ers offense to go from first to last in YAC. Typically, they had gotten the ball out quickly with the quarterback because they did have the outlet. But they didn't get the ball out quickly over the first several weeks of this season. Brock Purdy's time to throw was very high. Separation numbers, really bad for the 49ers. Average separation at the time of catch, last in the league. It was number 12 or number 13 last season. So many things that had been staples of this 49ers offense from a bread and butter perspective, just some of the basic things weren't happening this year. They still had managed to be a good offense. Still, number 5, number 6 DVOA. But Purdy was just doing things differently. and he was getting there with a higher degree of difficulty. He wasn't executing layups because there weren't layups to be executed. Kyle Shanahan did not build in enough of the easy throws. Nothing's easy in the NFL, but I say this in relative terms. He didn't build in enough of the easy throws to make sure that the 49ers pass game would be able to continue clicking without going to black diamond level difficulty. So when you have to go to your backup quarterback, and the 49ers have to do that here at Lambeau Field today, I think it, in effect, will force Kyle Shanahan to scheme in layups. Two-back system, one back. Kyle Juszczyk can run into one flat. Christian McCaffrey can run into another flat. 49ers have thrown the fewest screen passes of any team in the NFL this season. You know who's thrown the most screen passes? Patrick Mahomes. Andy Reid has schemed in a lot of layups for Patrick Mahomes. Even the very best quarterback in the league in Patrick Mahomes is better when his coach is scheming layups into the game. So I think for Brock Purdy, when he does return, and they're expecting him back next week against the Buffalo Bills, we'll know a little bit more about that this week. Right now, it's important to focus on what happens here in Green Bay. But even for Brock Purdy, it's really important that Kyle Shanahan gets back to the basics and starts scheming in some layups in the pass game. They need to get that yak up. They need to get the average distance of throw down. They need to get the time to throw down. They can't have, especially with Trent Williams potentially playing today on a bum ankle, they can't have the quarterback just sitting back there waiting for complicated things to develop. It needs to be simple for the 49ers. The short pass game can lead to openings in the run game. You've got to, at a fundamental level, the pass and the run have to be tied together. And if the pass is inconsistent and slow developing, then it's not going to do a good job setting the table for the run game. And obviously, they're going to need to run to beat the Green Bay Packers today. So sometimes simplification is necessary. I think simplification will be mandatory. Kyle Shanahan will be forced into it today with Brandon Allen, who can't run around like Brock Purdy. He can't be extending plays. He's not nearly the athlete that Brock Purdy is. And, if that all, ends up being the case, then perhaps we do see the 49ers offense stylistically look a lot closer to what it has looked like in the previous few years instead of what we've seen this year, which has been a slower developing, longer throwing offense that hasn't been able to consistently tie pass and run together. They've relied too much on superstardom. Brock Purdy's a star. George Kittle's a star. Christian McCaffrey's a star, right? The game against Tampa Bay, 49ers had a lot of offensive problems, but when push came to shove, they got bailed out by Purdy, McCaffrey, and George Kittle. Well, when you don't have Purdy, it's going to be a lot harder for the superstar bailout at the quarterback position, so you're going to have to go more to the basics, the layups, the setup by Kyle Shanahan. You go back to the way that Kyle Shanahan was able to scheme things up before he lost his fastball. And I think it's very clear that he doesn't have his fastball right now. The good news for the 49ers is that this is not the first time that's happened. All coaches go through ebbs and flows in terms of where they are, in terms of advantage or disadvantage in the play calling chess match. And when Shanahan has lost his fastball in the past, he's been able to get it back by refocusing on the fundamentals, refocusing on the simple things. One thing about the Packers is their defense is not very good. They've been number 29 EPA over the past 3 weeks, or past 3 games. They've had a bye week in there as well. So number 29 EPA is obviously the very bottom, or near the very bottom of the league. They're number 10 overall, so they started the season better, but the Green Bay Packers defense has eroded since. So I think a lot of this depends on which Packers defense does show up. But the 49ers have obviously moved the ball and run the ball against this team before. I thought Green Bay had a surprisingly good defense last year in the playoff game against the 49ers. That was the divisional round at Levi's Stadium. But based on what they've done over the past 3 weeks, I think the 49ers definitely might have a little bit of a reprieve as far as quality of defense faced. Last week, Seattle had all its guys back. And obviously, Mike McDonald put together a good game plan against the 49ers. Purdy seemed hurt too, missed on that dig route to Deebo Samuel late. The Seattle Seahawks played some high-level two-shell defense last week. Can Green Bay replicate what the Seattle Seahawks did against the 49ers? I'm not so sure. And the 49ers will have dry weather here. Now, it's funny because they're underdogs in this game. It's ironic that maybe the 49ers would prefer worse weather. The weather in the Bay Area, I think, is worse than it is right now in Green Bay. It might be a little chilly here, but it's not frigidly cold, and it's dry. So for offensive football, things should be able to go off without a hitch. I think that the other side of the ball is where there are a lot of concerns for the 49ers because the Packers have so many good young receivers. And obviously, Jordan Love is an athletic quarterback who can make noise in his own right. Love has thrown 11 interceptions this year in just 8 games. His interception rate's the 3rd worst in football. Only Anthony Richardson and Will Levis are worse. So common logic tells you that the 49ers might be able to coax a pick or two out of Jordan Love, and that might be their way for having a chance at an upset in this game. That being said, the initial concern for the 49ers is Green Bay's run game. Josh Jacobs is one of the best there is. He's a load to take down. And if the 49ers can't stop the run, then they're definitely not going to be on platform to be able to confuse Jordan Love, either via pressure or through coverage disguises to intercept the ball. So you have to stop the run or slow the run to a certain extent to get into position where you can run some schematically complex stuff in pass defense to try to turn the ball over against Jordan Love. And I think that it's going to have to be schematically complex because the pass rush without Nick Bosa is going to be really hard to generate if you're the 49ers against a good offensive line. So when you talk about a team trying to upset the favorite on the road, you have to look for edges where you don't normally look for them. And this is uncharted territory for the 49ers. It's the first time they're underdogs this year. They haven't been underdogs a lot over the past few seasons. But you talk about 4th down conversions. I think the 49ers might have to push it a little bit more aggressively in situations like that. Go for touchdowns instead of field goals. Or even when you're in potential punting range and it's 4th and short, I think we might see the 49ers have to go for it. I think that when you talk about blitzing, it's really tough for the 49ers because they blitz at the 2nd lowest rate in the league, and their effectiveness is about the same when they do blitz. So they don't blitz very often because they're not good at it. And if you talk about upping the blitz rate just because Nick Bosa is out, if you talk about rolling the dice that way, the track record says they may not be successful. So I think that the bigger ticket to success is playing to your strength if you're the 49ers. And that, funny enough, is their defensive backfield. They've got a lot of talent in the cornerback room, even with Charvarius Ward. They have some promising talent at safety. Obviously, Fred Warner is really, really good in coverage. If you're the 49ers, I think that you lean on Nick Sorensen and you lean on Brandon Staley, who's been good at this in the past from an X's and O's standpoint, to bring some coverages and utilize defensive backs in a way that Jordan Love probably hasn't seen on tape. If you can bring him different looks than he's seen on tape, maybe that's where you can exploit the interception weakness that Jordan Love has shown this year. Obviously, special teams. The last time the 49ers were here, they were underdogs, and it was, I don't know what side the press box is in. I'm trying to remember what end zone it was in. I've gotten turned around in this stadium. I believe it was in this end zone behind me where Jordan Willis blocked the punt. Talanoa Hufanga recovered. The 49ers were about +10, +11 expected points on special teams. The Packers don't have a good special teams unit again this year. They didn't have a good one in 2021. Neither did the 49ers, but it was a blocked field goal and a blocked punt that ended up being the equalizing factors for San Francisco before Jimmy Garoppolo gutted it out with the torn shoulder and the torn thumb ligament, let him downfield and set it up for Robbie Gould. So that was more special teams delivering for the 49ers. Whenever you're trying to make up ground as an underdog, you have to look for those hidden areas of efficiency. So I talked about what they can do on offense and defense, rediscovering the basics with Shanahan and coverage disguises in the back end. Well, special teams is a good way to potentially make up efficiency. All right, let's take a look at Lambeau Field. I think it's perfect that somebody named Lombardi is doing a show at Lambeau Field before anybody else has really arrived. Mike suggests a Jennings trick play. So Lambeau's got these seats that obviously are as cold as they look. This stadium was built in 1957. It used to be known as City Stadium. They have made upgrades to this stadium over the years to the point where it is now the Green Bay Packers' only home stadium. It was not the only home stadium for a long time of this franchise's illustrious history. The Packers used to split their time between Milwaukee and Green Bay. Milwaukee, the big city, about 2 hours to the south of here. And they played at County Stadium, which is where the Milwaukee Brewers used to play. Now the Brewers play at Miller Park, so County Stadium is no more. The former home of the Packers has given way to the full-time home of the Packers here, Lambeau Field, named after Curly Lambeau, the founder of this franchise. Vince Lombardi, the great coach with a great last name, roamed these sidelines for the Green Bay Packers. They have upgraded the stadium over the years. As you can see, that upper deck has actual seats, like with seat backs instead of just this. And we can go and look through some of the Packers on the Ring of Honor. Ted Thompson, the general manager. They have retired numbers up here. Maybe we could start with the retired numbers here in Green Bay. Don Hudson, the great wide receiver. Bart Starr, Reggie White, Brett Favre. The GM, Ted Thompson, from 05 to 17, won a Super Bowl. Ron Wolf won a Super Bowl back when Brett Favre was the quarterback. There he is. There's Earl Curly Lambeau Field. The stadium here is named after him. I talked about John Blood McNally, a great versatile fullback yesterday. Saw his statue downtown, and I predicted that the 49ers are going to win. And then Kyle Juszczyk is going to have to deliver a Johnny Blood McNally type of game for the 49ers. A versatile game, the secret weapon, the Swiss Army knife, Kyle Juszczyk. There he is, Lombardi himself. Saw a Bart Starr statue last night, Brett Favre, Charles Woodson, all the greats listed here at Lambeau Field. So if you have any predictions, toss them into the chat. I'm going to head out to the tailgate in a bit. Lombardi herself is out at the tailgate. You should come say hi. Tailgating here at Lambeau Field is awesome. If you would like some tailgating footage of people doing shot skis, give me a thumbs up in the comment section. The more thumbs up I get, the more footage you guys are going to get. Grandpa Vince, there you go. And when we talk about Brandon Allen and simplifying things, you know, when Nick Mullins delivered that big game against the Raiders in 2018, when Jimmy Garoppolo came in, and that was, you know, obviously his first work under Kyle Shanahan in 2017, when the 49ers turned things around in the 2021 season with that performance against the Rams. They didn't have nearly as much skill position talent as they do now. So we have to remember that, right? Remember, they've got Christian McCaffrey, they've got George Kittle, he's going to be back in this game. Trent Williams is going to be trying out his ankle, so they're going to hope to have him back. But he's obviously not a skill position weapon unless he's a tackle eligible on a play. Never say never. So Jennings, Christian McCaffrey, Kittle, Kyle Juszczyk. Talk about Johnny Blood McNally, the great fullback. I mean, the 49ers definitely have weapons, including Deebo Samuel, who they can utilize in this game to make life easier for Brandon Allen. And at a certain level, it's about distributing the football and seeing what these weapons can do. Obviously, the protection has to be there. Allen has to manage things well at the line of scrimmage, but it's not rocket science. And the 49ers should definitely approach this game with this simple offensive approach that has lent them success in the past when their quarterback has simply distributed the ball to weapons. Whether they be shorter throws or intermediate throws, they don't have to do anything crazy. They don't have to buy time. I think that's the key to setting the 49ers run game in motion. If they win this game, they're going to have a lot of success on the ground with a weapon like Christian McCaffrey. All right, this is your tour from Lambeau Field. Everybody, thanks for watching. Drop your prediction in the comment section. Give me your thumbs up if you want to see some tailgating footage from the land of Lombardi. We will talk to you guys very, very soon. Oh, you know, and I'm going to end this by giving you a walk through the Lambeau tunnel. I think that's fun, right? I'm going to exit the field. And we're gonna take a look at the tunnel coming out to the field. This is what it looks like in the concourse level. All right, you guys ready for this? Spin around. Here we go. There it is, the mecca of professional football. Lambeau Field, Green Bay, Wisconsin. Site of the 49ers and the Packers today. The 49ers trying to gut through some devastating injuries and pick up a huge win.